Hello, everyone. So, wasn't yesterday exciting? We got a whole bunch of new reveals. We got some cool stuff to look forward to. Oh, and by the way, this this little thing happened. I don't know if you caught it or not, but we're getting a deathsaurus. More than that, we're getting a HasLab deathsaurus, which means a lot of the stuff that this toy should be capable of and should include that would get gutted if it was a retail release will actually make it into the toy now. I don't want the argument of, oh, this should have been a retail piece. This thing comes with too much and it does too much. You know for a fact, retail level would have gutted out a lot of what makes this toy cool. Let's be happy we're getting it at all. We're getting it without any kind of limit to it. I love how it's looking so far. I also love the fact that in 24 hours, it's almost matched the Ghost Rider HasLab. I don't know if that says something about how popular a lot of these victory characters are, or if it says something about Ghost Rider. Probably the latter. I'm sorry, the Engine of Vengeance was never going to pull off. But this does have me thinking. It's been a while since we kind of speculated on what HasLab can do. So earlier this year, I did do a video based on like what I think HasLab might be doing in the near future. And if you paid attention, I correctly predicted deathsaurus in the thumbnail. You're welcome. So I figured let's do that again. Let's kind of go back. I'll take a look at some of my picks from the previous video, re-examine them a little bit, but then we're going to go in a new direction and we'll talk about some other possibilities that I think fit that niche of very popular amongst fans, but probably would not work at retail. Before we go any farther, and I apologize if you heard the announcement, so you can skim through this part. But I'm excited about it, and I kind of want to talk about it. You can see below right now, I now have a sponsorship, well, not a sponsorship. I have an affiliate link with Entertainment Earth, and if you use that code, if you use that URL to go shop there, you get 10% off your order. It does stack with their free shipping deal going on right now, and anything you buy there helps support the channel. So, you get the toys you're going to buy anyway, you get a little discount, you get them shipped for free, and you help keep the channel going all at once. Everybody wins. I promise I'm not going to remind everybody every single video. I'm not going to try and be obnoxious about it. I'm just happy that it's a thing now, so I want to point it out once in a while. I'll lay off for a bit. I'll lay off for a while. Let's actually get to content. Let's actually talk about this topic because we got so much to speculate on. So for starters, let's go to the most obvious choice after deathsaurus got released. If we just want to go 3 for 3, like 3 in a row victory when it comes to HasLab, Kaiser seems to be the choice here. Now, I have, of course, I would love this to be a thing. I would absolutely love a Kaiser. There are a few things about Kaiser that does strike me as being very appropriate for HasLab, but also things that kind of make me go, man, I kind of wish that was at retail. For starters, we've never had a combiner team released as a HasLab. They've always been either special box sets or they've been Titan class figures. The thing is, I would love to get them at retail level. I'd love to get them for like, just like a normal retail price at Titan class. However, I do acknowledge that that's probably not a practical solution because Kaiser doesn't work the same way as the others. When you look at Devastator and you look at Predaking, what you see is this unified color scheme. And when you're a toy designer, that means you can gang mold things together. You can reduce the number of molds you need because so many of the characters use the exact same colors. Helps a ton in the toy production level. Kaiser, 6 individual figures that all have their own color combinations. Outside of black and maybe some hues of gray, there's not a lot that can be shared amongst them. So it's going to take a lot of tooling and a lot of extra processes. So it makes me think it's probably not something that would work at retail level, but as a HasLab, yes. Now, I do think for the same reason, it would end up being more expensive than Deathsaurus and maybe even Victory Saber. But I also think at the HasLab level, you would include Death Cobra. Can you absolutely see that as like a stretch goal to get that character in? I can. Should be pretty obvious. So, I'm cautiously optimistic that this is a potential, but they've done victory twice in a row. I could see them going in a different direction. And like I said, there's a complication with this one. So, who else was in my list? Fortress Maximus was in the list. So, I acknowledge that I would love to get another Titan class Fortress Maximus. Because obviously the original is so disappointing. The more I think about it, the more I realize that if I want one that functions correctly, like has the elevator, has the little jail cell on the leg, has all the little features, that's not going to happen unless it happens at the HasLab level. You know, if I want a Titan, like if I want a Fortress Maximus that really is like bigger than Metroplex once more, it doesn't have to be as Unicron big, but like it just has to be an inch or two above Metroplex again, just to reclaim that title a little bit. But if it would scale for core class figures, and I could use like the little elevator in the center for core class, the ramps fit the core class and all that, that would be great. That would be absolutely fantastic. The trick here is I would love that. I would love a fully featured one, but more realistically, it needs to be a Titan to open ourselves up to the potential reuses. Brave Maximus especially, because I would love that color scheme and all that. And then, of course, Grand Maximus as well. If it's a HasLab, all that gets cut off, so we never get that mold as those characters. HasLab stuff is better off to one-off characters, you know, like we've gotten so far. Things that aren't necessarily going to need a repaint for any reason. So, let's see. Who else do we have here? Oh, right. I talked about animated Omega Supreme. Huge gap in the animated lineup. I would love to see this again. There are caveats. One, I don't know how many of the original designers of animated are still with the Hasbro design team at this point. You would definitely need their influence and knowledge because, like, really, like, animated had such a unique engineering style. I don't think you could just, like, properly assimilate it. I feel like you have to have the people who knew what they were doing back then. More to the point, it's an untested variable. I feel like once we get to that part of Legacy that's going to start including animated characters, because they have said animated would be part of Legacy, then we're kind of going to get a vibe for just how popular animated still is and how viable something like this is. So the potential for Omega Supreme, I think, now rides on how well the Legacy figures based on animated do. Fingers crossed, because I'd love to have that. I would love to finally like have like literally the biggest gap in the animated collection settled, right? All right, moving on to stuff that we didn't consider at the Titan class before. The more I think about it, the more I decide, like, because the debate with Tidal Wave was, do you make it leader class so it could combine with a Megatron? Do you make it commander class so it's bigger than everybody? Or do you make it Titan class? I'm like, you know what? Let's cool it down here. Let's cool it down here. I think it needs to be somewhere between commander class and Titan class. I don't think Tidal Wave needs to be Titan huge. It'd be cool. And ultimately, it'd probably be cheaper to get it as a Titan than a HasLab. But somewhere in the middle, I think, is a little bit more close to what I would like. Something around HasLab size, you know, for something like this. And the more I think about it, the more I think that's might be the only way I get all the features that that toy originally had. So, like, I love the integration with his Ramjet Minicon, the way it could lower into the deck of the ship mode with an elevator. That's super cool. I would love to see that with like a core class size ramjet. Maybe one that didn't even need to fold up because we got lots of extra space to work with at this size. I would love to still have the rotating cannons on the chest, gimmicked or not. I would love to still have the 3 individual vehicle modes to part out and still manage to work articulation in. I would still love to have like this little carrier mode that mini-cons or core classes could sit on. The more I think about it, the more I realize that toy does a lot, and there's a lot of things I would still love it to do, and actually, like, you know, more that I think it should be capable of. But it's going to need more size and more budget than I think Commander or even Titan class could give it. Also, a Titan class Armada figure, that's a bit of a stretch. Again, Armada is not such a tested commodity. It's again going to probably come down to how good Hotshot and Starscream do sales-wise. So again, untested variables. before like something that big of a risk can come down. I started thinking back to like the toys that are just like legends in the fandom, like the ones that we have always dreamed of, the first ones that got us like really sparked, like oh my god, that's happening, oh my god. And when I think about toys that do that, I start thinking about, well, pretty obvious, Unicrons. So what about? What about? What if after all this time, this original Unicron design, like the very first one that was potential for us to get, not the G1, though a HasLab of G1 Unicron, oh my god, I would so be on board. I would buy that so fast. I think that would be hilarious. To do a G1 Unicron, I think would be amazing. You know, and they don't even have to make it like HasLab Unicron big. They just have to make it the size it was supposed to be in G1. Oh my god, I would be so down for that. Oh, it's so good. I wish I got that picture instead of this picture, because like literally I didn't think about it that hard. But no, like we have a plethora of Unicrons out there. They don't have to be HasLab Unicron size. They can be smaller, but you think about animated, you're not animated, Armada, and you think about this one. I'd even throw in the Prime one, potentially. But the Neo Unicron, I think, has such a place amongst the fan base that have that big whale money these days, like to go back and like capture this thing that they wanted, that got us so excited back in the day that it was never a possibility. Now it might be. Maybe. Maybe. Or maybe I just want another shot at it. Yes, maybe I want to be able to say someday, like, yes, I have HasLab Unicron. Which one? No, no, Neo. I'm sorry. Oh, drank a little quick there. I'm sorry. But yeah, the potential. As long, why am I restricting this to Unicron? Why am I restricting this to Unicron? Let's throw in Primus while we're at it, and not Cybertron Primus. Based on it, certainly, because like the engineering and the design's already there, and it does give us a nice starting point that doesn't need nearly as much shell as Unicron, or at the very least, his shell is in big solid chunks across his body. No. We can kind of work this into something like a G1 style Primus, and then it forms like a show accurate Cybertron, it's all silver across, those like deep recesses into the planet with like highlights of orange for the glow in the core, that like that big like deep gulf that they always show off in that shot in the G1 cartoon. Like I want to see that, like that huge hole leading down into the core. I want to see like little Easter eggs hidden across the surface. Here's like, here's all these famous cities from all across Cybertron, all like Kaon and Iacon. Like I want to see those across the surface. I want to see the Sea of Rust sculpted in. I want to see like the little term, like I want to see like the little, like just the top of the tower for the space bridge. Things like that. Like an entire surface just covered in things that Transformer fans can recognize. Love the idea. And then you get like all the little mini vehicles, the stretch goals, little mini vehicles to stick on. So it's like, here's a floating Unicron head to use as a moon. Here is, like here little tiny micro arcs and axolons and all. Just, here's Moon Base 2. You can stick Moon Base 2 and have it rotating. Possibilities. I love it. I love this. So, extending outside of planets, how about we talk about big-time characters here? And we're going to kind of go on this a theme for the finale here. So we're going to start off with Star Convoy. Now, this box may technically be checked because they did retool Power the Prime's Optimus into Star Convoy. But as a Star Convoy representation, let's kind of admit it's pretty shallow and it's not really that great of one, especially the vehicle mode. Vehicle mode is nothing like Star Convoy. So I would love a proper go about of it. This big Optimus Prime, track, like that tank tread version of Roller that hides under, behind his legs. Base mode would be cool. Mini or Micromaster Hot Rod, all this stuff. And One reason why I would love to see a Star Convoy done as his own mold, because it opens up possibility. If they do a Star Convoy and it takes off and it succeeds as a HasLab, then, we can do the same thing we're doing with Victory right now, like, just when Star Saber is about getting ready to ship, let's drop the next HasLab on you, and it's going to be, Sky Gary and Grandis, so you can complete that alt mode. Two characters that are so obscure, I think the only way they would become viable and possible to be released is to actually have them, like, something there to already be creating that demand. So if Star Convoy's already out, people are going to want those two obscurities a little bit more. It might be the only way characters like that actually get new figures. Maybe. Or maybe you do this. Maybe you do this as a commander and then do them as a HasLab. Either or would still work. All right. Likewise, we do have a God Jinrai. God Jinrai was released in Legends. We can acknowledge. It's not exactly a great figure. Far from it. There's a lot of hiccups to that toy. In build quality, in accessory, especially in just the fact that, like, it's missing a lot of features that Power Master Prime / Super Jinrai was known for. Most notably, he doesn't have a cab that transforms into an independent vehicle. It's that comes from the fact that no matter how much they retooled it, no matter how much they reworked that toy, it was just Combiner War Ultra Magnus. Again, it's just like a heavily retooled Ultra Magnus. If we want to do it properly, it's got to be from the ground up. So the base mode can look good. So Jinrai actually exists in the figure as articulated and show accurate. The Power Master gimmick has to make some kind of presence. And you don't do this thing that Takara did where, Takara did this thing later on where, like, oh, well, now we've 2-packed them. You've already bought both of them? Well, now there's a 2-pack that has both of them with improved engineering. Like, Jinrai's ankles actually work now. Oh, and like the 3 Headmaster Junior figures that you kind of need. Buy it again. Hate that. I hate when they do that. It's not the only time they did it. They did it in Galaxy Force too. So I could definitely see this. I would be down for this immediately. As long as we're doing combination pairs, like, what happens if we get, an Energon, Optimus, and Wing Saber? Armada, I think you can do at retail level, and everyone would be cool. I think you could, and if Armada Prime, however he comes out, leader class, commander class, I'm pretty sure he's going to be Legacy Evolution's commander class. I could see them expanding on that. I could see a Voyager Overload coming out. I could see a leader class Jetfire that could combine onto him. I could see all that. But when we get into, like, the mid-ground, I think, Energon especially, I feel like that is where things just start going off the rail, and, like, I don't see it happening unless it's HasLab done. And I could absolutely see this being as, like, an either or. They could, could take off, could work, could fail. But if any team needs it, if any 2-pair need it, it's these two, right? Because you got Wing Saber, who's a total brick, who looks amazing, but he's a total brick. And then you got Prime with his proportion problems and the limited, like, his trailer, like a trailer that does nothing, and limited functionality with the drones. I feel like this toy could do so much more and be so much better than the original one. And yes, third party's proven that. You don't need to keep telling me, like, third party did it better, third party already did it. I don't care. I want Hasbro to do it. I want the actual brand to do it. All right? That's what we're talking. That's the point here. Not so us fans could get it, but so that Hasbro can do it. But so Hasbro can do it. That's what I want, right? Just so we're clear. But as long as we're talking about duos that would get the fandom excited, granted, Energon toys, that's not really going to get anyone, like, terribly excited. You know what I think? If we're going to do any kind of combining duo, especially with Optimus Prime, that I think is going to fire up fans a lot and actually be a successful HasLab. Right? Right? Fire Convoy is one of the most popular molds from that time. It's like almost a legendary mold at this point. Fantastic toy, don't get me wrong, but we could definitely improve it. Some modern engineering style, some proportion changes to make it closer to the anime. No chrome on the chest. And then you have Ultra Magnus, who the proportions, again, could be worked on. His articulation can be improved. The legs could be made more solid. There's a lot of room for improvement in that 2-pack that I think with current engineering and sensibility with design is a far more possible feat now than it was then. And more importantly, we've shown that with Takara's attempt to reissue Fire Convoy, we're probably not going to be able to count on the original mold anymore. So, like, if we want this toy again, this is probably going to be the only way to do it. And I think it'd be great for HasLab. Like, you take on, like, all this, like, you know, like, like, I can already see that, like, Magnus's weapon is going to be a stretch goal because it's not integral to any of his modes. It's just a gigantic weapon pack. And then you have the sword, which would end up they basically just re-release Fortress Maximus's big sword. But it does but that's also a thing. That's also a thing they could include as a stretch goal. So, like, there are possibilities here, and, like, really cool ones. So that's my list. That's my updated list of where I think HasLab can go from here. There's a lot of exciting possibilities. I didn't even mention them all. I know a lot of people have their favorites and the ones that they, like, hope for the most. And you know what? If they can do deathsaurus and it's already taking off this fast, it's pretty much sky's the limit, right? You know, we're on our way to, like, the 3rd successful HasLab Transformer release. And if it does actually work out and all the stretch goals are met, they could get away with just about anything at this point. But thank you for joining me for a little bit of speculation. Hope it gets some thoughts going or makes you realize some potential that maybe we didn't think about before. That's the goal of little videos like this. Just make you think, give you the idea, and give you the false hope that some of these things are actually going to happen. But sometimes they do, and that makes it exciting. Thank you for watching. I will see you next time. Guys, I am facing the most powerful enemy any YouTuber can face, the algorithm, and I need your help to defeat him. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. Every time you do, we attack that algorithm and we drive it back until it can no longer defeat this channel. Thank you very much.